Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Stacking Dubs. I'm your host, Chris Chinn. That was one of the worst weekends for the Warriors in recent history. That was just brutal on so many different fronts, starting with just our hearts getting broken and just going through essentially what is a divorce. And it was not a smooth or super amicable divorce. It ended pretty rough. And I get that these things happen. Klay Thompson had to leave and do what was best for him. The Warriors had to do what was best for them and explore other trade possibilities. I can understand why Klay was upset about feeling disrespected and thinking he deserved a little bit better treatment than he got and being prioritized in the Warriors' plans. I also see why the Warriors did what they did and had to pursue a second All-Star caliber player to put next to Steph and chase what's left of any championship hopes that we have. Sometimes both can be true. Both sides can be upset about it, and ultimately that's what leads to a divorce like this. So I'll say, Klay Thompson, man, I wish you well. Thank you so much for all that you provided, just for the Warriors and just all these great moments. The 37-point quarter. My personal favorite memory of Klay is Game 6, Klay against the Thunder, down 3 games to 1 against the Thunder initially, made the comeback all the way to beat them in 7, and Klay dropped 11 threes in a hostile environment. And I'm talking about when I was watching the game, I'm watching with a bunch of Thunder fans just heckling me the entire time about blowing a 73-win season. And Klay Thompson shut them up on my behalf, and I was the only one that had a good night that night. So Klay Thompson, man, I guess with Clay's that chip on his shoulder, right? It's always been there, even through the best of times. That confidence to just shoot any shot, to almost lack self-awareness at times, for better or worse. That's what made him so great as a player and a scorer. Just that kill the Klay mentality. And sometimes it manifests itself in, when he didn't make the top 75 of all time that the NBA put together a few years ago. You could tell that he was very upset about it and felt disrespected. Warriors, joked around, bought him a 76 Klay Thompson jersey, and it was nothing but humor at the time. But then you see other instances, when he's just kind of flashing his 4 fingers at Devin Booker and just kind of the whole, what do I got to do to get some respect around here? Rodney Dangerfield type mentality, to yelling at the coaches when he got benched last year and sent to the bench. That chip on his shoulder, for better for worse, it's been there. He thinks he is the greatest player, greatest shooter that there is. Including Steph Curry. I just firmly believe that Klay Thompson thinks he is a better shooter than Steph Curry, and he's a better player than a top 75 of all time, to which I could make that argument as well. But again, it's wherever you put Klay and however you see Klay, I think he sees himself even higher. And when you're a professional athlete that is a shooter and has had the success that he has, how can you blame him? So again, I hope that you rediscover that stroke and your scoring and have success with Dallas. Thank you for not going to the Lakers, Klay. And I guess that's all we can ask for at this point. And we wish you the best. And hopefully both sides can succeed going forward. Thank you. Moving forward. Well, not even moving forward. Still harping on last weekend, the Paul George offer. So what I think happened, and more or less been reported, is that it sounded like that Paul George wanted to be a Warrior. And he told the Clippers, hey, trade me to the Warriors. To which they said, we'll work on a trade. They did with the Warriors. It sounds like the Warriors thought they were close or had an agreement. The offer that's been reported is a combination, not all of them, but a combination of Kuminga, Wiggins, Moody. Kuminga, Wiggins, Moody, Chris Paul, and a first-round pick. Though it sounds like the Warriors did not want to include both Wiggins and Kuminga in that deal. They did not want to include Podziemski, who I heard the Clippers also were interested in him. So really, I think the Warriors wanted to do a Wiggins, Chris Paul, Moody, and a pick. The Clippers said, toss in more, or we'll structure something around Kuminga. Dunleavy said no. And that's how it ended up. And basically the Clippers, in being greedy and trying to play hardball and, basically bluffing, lose Paul George for nothing, screw over the Warriors. Warriors end up with nothing here. Both teams lose. And that's how the Clippers roll, man. That's what why the Clippers are what the Clippers are. They make stupid moves like this. They get nothing for one of their best players to come across their franchise ever. And they just let him go, and you lose him for nothing. And you know what, Clippers? I hope you guys go 0-72 next, or 0-82 next year. You guys, I'm not. At times, like the Clippers, I'm back to hating the Clippers fully next to the Lakers, which I guess I'll take the Lakers over the Clippers at this point. So, anyways, I'll keep it PG here. PG-13. Oh gosh, everything I say PG. I'm gonna keep it rated G here and not swear. And PG-13 can go have fun in Philadelphia. All these puns not intended. Okay, where did the Warriors go from there? It sounds like they got an offer for Zach LaVine for Wiggins and Chris Paul. Chris Paul was then subsequently released when the Warriors declined it. I actually don't mind this. They try to get the Warriors on tilt. The Wiggins for LaVine, essentially, you can make the argument that the Warriors are better with LaVine just on the court. It's, you're taking a horrible contract with LaVine. He's due 3 more years with $150 million on the contract. You're essentially handcuffed at that point. You're in the luxury tax. You are stuck with LaVine, who is maybe one of the worst contracts in the league. The Bulls have been rumored to be trying to offload picks with LaVine just to get him off their books. So the Bulls are desperate here. Wiggins, sure, he might not be worth the $25 million he's due this next year, but Wiggins can still bounce back, have a good season, and still become an asset again. He actually plays defense. LaVine, just as much offense as he would bring, the Warriors would not be a contending team with LaVine on that roster. And if you're not going to be a contender, then what are you going to do? What are you doing just taking on a huge contract like that? You're essentially just stuck in purgatory for the next 3 years. So for those reasons, I appreciate the patience that the Warriors have by not pulling the trigger on this. I know it seems like the sky is falling, but it's still just 1 year. It's an off season. The Warriors are starting to make little moves, and we'll kind of take a look at the little moves and maybe one more big move we can make in this off season. But it's not the end of the world to say, hey, it's not there this off season. We're not going to take a terrible deal. We're going to see how things go until the trade deadline. If we're in a playoff spot, hey, maybe we make a move at that point. Maybe Wiggins has shown up and is now, stepped up and looks like the Wiggins of a few years ago, and his contract or Kuminga or whoever else you have is worth a little bit more then, and you can trade them for the pieces that you're looking for now. Worst case scenario, you're kind of retooling. You've got a year of just kind of existing and some money off the books, and then you're starting again next year. It doesn't mean it's over if you're sacrificing a half year or this next year. It's frustrating because Steph Curry probably only has 2, maybe 3 top years left, and you don't want to waste any of them. But at this point, it almost makes more sense to try to preach a little bit of patience rather than just go on tilt and chase the next, named superstar on a bad contract that you can get. So I appreciate them not taking the LaVine offer. That being said, where we go forward from here is Warriors just signed De'Anthony Melton. I like that move. Even though he's 6'3", he is a great defender. He shot 39% from 3 last year. He's kind of like a KCP type player, except he can handle the ball a little bit. 3 assists, can do kind of active ball handling duties, which you really do need with Steph Curry, and I guess Podziemski, really the only other ball handlers on the roster. Maybe Kuminga can come along and kind of take a little of that duty and kind of be more of a playmaker. But Melton can at least create. We've talked about this in previous episodes. The Warriors need to find someone who can ball handle and create for others as well as themselves, and space the floor and play defense at point of attack. Melton gives you all those, and on a mid-level exception, he could end up being in the closing lineup or just be kind of that 6th man role kind of interactively with Podziemski. So I actually really like the Melton signing, but in order to make it worth anything and to get back into contention, the Warriors still do need to find that number 2 scoring option. There is one person left. We all know who it is at this point. It's Lauri Markkanen, who is somewhat available for trade. I'll preface it by saying Danny Ainge is the GM for the Jazz, and he is notoriously impossible to trade with. He's probably just going to ask for 8 first-round picks and Kuminga. I don't know where I draw the line. I'll attempt to kind of define it for you. I would not give up that much, obviously, even if we could give up those picks for Lauri Markkanen. I'll tell you that marketing solves a lot of the problems in terms of a spaced big man. He can shoot, he can create a little bit, he gives you a lob threat in the pick and roll. He's a great pick and roll partner with Curry, in addition to Curry and Draymond doing their thing. Marketing is the perfect big to pair next to Draymond Green, and he gives us some size and rebounds. So I don't know if he puts us into contention, but he gives us a fair chance at being a playoff team. And if all things kind of fit together, maybe we're, a midseason acquisition away, maybe like the Naps with like a PJ Washington. We have one more good role player or upgrade like a Wiggins to something else. Now you can give yourself a fighting chance at a playoff run. So it starts with trying to get marketing on the books. Only $18 million for this next year gives you room to operate before you have to sign him to an extension, probably the max. He's only 27 years old, so he gives you a little bit of foundation to build off of. Here's the catch. What do we give up to get him? It sounds like we probably have to give up Kuminga. Although if you're the Jazz, why are you giving up one player on an expiring deal that needs to be basically maxed out in marketing for another lesser known future in terms of a Jonathan Kuminga, who also will need to get paid in the next year. And you don't really know if he's going to blossom into the player that even marketing is at this point. I would still think they want Kuminga, but you get what I'm saying. You're kind of just trading apples for lesser apples at this point and draft picks. So if we're fortunate, they would take something like a Wiggins for the contract, or Moody, probably Pajemski, package 2 or 3 of those younger players, and then throw in 4 first-round picks and probably a pick swap. That's what it's going to take. It probably would take even more than that because there are going to be other competitive teams like the Spurs and maybe even the Thunder coming in for marketing. But that's where it starts. So if we can get a Wiggins and Moody deal on top of, we'll call it 3 first-round picks and a pick swap, I'll consider that. We would do that just to make something happen and see where we go from there. And then you're filling in the roster with, you still have a little bit of room salary wise since marketing's deal is not that much at 18 million. All right, that's a whole bunch of rationalizing and trying to make myself feel better. In reality, we all just want to sit there and sulk because this dynasty has been just an awesome run. We love that it happened. We love that Klay was part of it. All good things come to an end. And I don't know if this is necessarily the end, but it sure looks like the door is closed for at least this next year, unless a major move is made, and not basically being down to Lowry marketing for now. Otherwise, we're looking forward to at least the trade deadline or a year from now. All right, guys, that will do it. Again, Godspeed to you, Klay. Thank you for everything. Hang in there, Dub Nation. I hated doing this episode, but it had to be done, and we will rise up again because I believe in Steph Curry and I believe in the Warriors. All right, until next time, peace, love, and stacking.